If you're struggling to improve in Counter-Strike, I have 10 legit ways to help you improve. Either you're playing Faceit or Premier, or maybe you're just hard stuck at a rank that you need to get out of. I'm going to show you guys 10 ways that you can improve and what you should be working on. But before I get into those tips, I need you guys to check out the sponsor of this video, SkinsMonkey.
SkinsMonkey is a CS2 skins trading site and marketplace that provides an instant way to get new skins. My favorite thing about SkinsMonkey is that I can trade skins that I no longer want and trade it for a skin that is equal value. If you use code Louis CS2, you get a $5 bonus on your first trade. If you want to buy skins, you can get a 30% deposit bonus plus an extra 5% using my code. The link is down in the description.
So starting off with the first tip, we have learning lineups. You guys need to be able to throw almost any smoke, any flash, any molly in every situation. But if you are more of a casual player, you can just learn the basics. There's so many good YouTube videos out there and so many good programs that can help you learn what you need to know. And you can even learn the metas of what teams are throwing just by watching these certain YouTube channels, which I will post their pictures on the screen right now. If you guys do a little deep dive, you'll be able to understand what utility you should be throwing in your games, and hopefully that will help you guys rank up. Moving on to tip number 2, we have master a role. You guys need to be able to decide what type of player you want to be in Counter-Strike. Either you want to be a lurker, an opper, an IGL, or maybe an entry, even a second entry. There's a lot of options and you need to decide which ones you want to do, because when you get in the game, you can't just switch up your playstyle because that will cause inconsistency, and inconsistency causes a bad performance. If you don't know what role you want to be, you guys need to watch your favorite player and almost mimic what they're doing, either if they're more of a passive player and they're lurking, or maybe they're an aggressive lurk, or maybe they're just hard entering like Yakinder, or they could just be a dominant opper like Shiro. Just make sure you guys study up on that player and you will notice more consistency in your game, and you'll definitely be able to carry more than you have in the past. The next tip I think is very important. I know in the last tip I was talking about consistency, but if you are really struggling with consistency and you have a role, you need to develop a warm-up routine. This will help you always be consistent in your warm-up, and you'll almost feel the same when you get into your first game. You'll be loose enough, your wrist is loose, your muscle memory is loose. Now there's a lot of good warm-ups out there that you could copy from pros that are on the internet, but I honestly just recommend going into aimbots, warming up the wrist, shooting maybe 300 bots, practicing some sprays, some spray transfers, use the AK, practice some op flicks, maybe some scout flicks, warm up the wrist, and that's pretty much good. You don't want to over warm up. I say more than 10 minutes pretty much just turns into training at that point, and then you'll start to kind of die down a little bit and maybe de-energize yourself, and you'll notice maybe your performance isn't that good. So make sure your warm-up routine's about 10 minutes and it's just something simple, maybe 5 minutes of surf KZ, 5 minutes of aimbots, and then hop in your first game. Tip number 4 is very important for not even yourself but for your team, and it's keep the high vibes. You always want to be positive even in situations where it's hard to be positive. I made a video about this a long time ago where I talked about you just need to realize you're playing a video game. Counter-Strike is fun. You want to have fun. Everything that happens is usually just kind of goofy, and a lot of people have almost turned this goofy thing into this upsetness because they don't think they're playing the game right, and it's just this rabbit hole of, hey, I'm going to get mad at the other guy because he's not playing the game how I want him to play. And since it's an online video game, you never know what you're going to expect, so I just think it's funny, and that's what my video talked about. So make sure you guys really keep the high vibes, but not only for yourself but for your teammates, because when people start to get toxic, it almost rubs off on other people, and then the team environment just gets so toxic and mad and tilting, and it's not fun to play, and you're going to be telling yourself, get me out of this game, get me out of this game, just like every NA pug star says. So make sure you guys practice on your mental, and I know you'll see some improvement. Tip number 5 is something that a lot of people struggle with because they might have an ego, and that is understand your mistakes. If you can look back on your mistakes, even if it's in game, and you can fix them immediately and adapt, you will notice constant improvement. A lot of people think they're this perfect player and just point fingers at their teammates, which isn't the best thing to do because most of the time it actually will fall back on you. There's so many situations where I look back on myself where I could have just either stepped up or done something different that would have won us the round, and I just pointed a finger at my teammates, which is one of the worst things I could have done. But now that I've actually developed, I can identify mistakes and easily win games and make easy comebacks by just understanding what I'm doing wrong. So I really recommend that you guys maybe record yourself or just watch back some of your demos of your past games just to see what you're doing wrong, and I guarantee you'll see an insane amount of improvement because you're fixing yourself and it's forcing yourself to improve, and then you're not going to be making those dumb habits that you've been making, and you'll become a 10 times better player. Now, this next tip is very important because some people might not understand this, and it's be on the same page as your teammates. I got a message a while ago where someone talked about how they don't know how to play with teammates that are just running out by themselves and it's throwing the game. And this is something very important. If you're on the same page as a teammate, either asking him a question on what he's doing or maybe just getting an idea of how he plays, you can easily win a game. If you guys are wondering what I messaged back that guy who sent me the DM, I literally just told him, like, if you identify his playstyle as just running out solo, you just need to bait and trade him. Just be his second entry if he wants to try to entry on the site and figure out ways to support him. So if your teammates don't calm and it's hard to understand them, just try to identify how they're playing the game and almost just play off of them. I know it might be a little uncomfortable at first, but Counter-Strike has so many different scenarios where you're going to be uncomfortable for a majority of the time unless you really train yourself to always be comfortable. So I really recommend on your next game you play in Counter-Strike, try to look at your teammates and identify how they're playing. You might be able to be on the same page as them, and if not, I would watch it back and see how it made you feel and see if it made you uncomfortable. And if it did, try to identify how you can be comfortable in that situation. Tip number 7 is something that isn't talked about a lot, and it's play during your peak hours. A lot of people perform at really good hours, and I really suggest that you find out the times that you are performing the best. Now, if you just get off your 9 to 5 and you hop on the game and you notice you play bad, obviously those aren't your peak hours, and you need to adapt your schedule where you can actually play well. So maybe you get off your 9 to 5, you chill, you eat a little bit for an hour or two, and then you hop on the game and then you notice, man, I'm actually playing really well. Now, those are your peak hours. You need to develop your schedule, especially if you want to rank up in Counter-Strike, to develop your peak hours and have that little routine of, okay, I'm going to take a little break after the gym, after my job, whatever it is, and then I can just play for a couple hours while being at the top of my game, and this is what you want. So make sure you guys take a little notebook or maybe a Google Sheet and just track down what hours you're playing the best, and you'll notice that it'll be easier to rank up because you're playing at your peak hours, and that's where you're performing. And then you'll probably get people typing you in chat that this is a live game of yours, but in reality, you just figured out your peak hours on when you should play. So tip number 8 is hold wider angles. Now, I made a video on this in the past about peeker's advantage, and I think it's something that people don't do a lot. They love to hold these tight angles where they can't actually get the kill because the reaction time isn't fast enough, or maybe they're just caught off guard. So especially if you're playing a faceit pug or premier, you're probably getting wide swung a lot and you need to adjust. And holding a wider angle will definitely guarantee that you will be able to get at least one kill on someone swinging out, even if he catches you a little off guard, because your crosshair will be perfectly set on their head and they won't even have time to react to shoot you back. Tip number 9 is probably one of the most important tips in this video, and that is develop a training routine. Now, what's the difference between a training routine and a warm-up routine? Well, like I talked about earlier, a warm-up routine is probably 10 to 20 minutes, so a training routine would be 20 plus minutes. Now, in a training routine, you want to find your weaknesses and develop them in that training routine, and you want to keep it consistent. So maybe it's an hour of deathmatch, 30 minutes of aimbots, 30 minutes of the spray control map, right? These are very important that you need to have, because if you're consistent in your training, you'll also be consistent in game. So you guys need to experiment with a training routine, which one works for you. There's a lot of options and a lot of videos. I watched Alicia's routine with aim labs, and I noticed that it actually helped me. So I've been consistently using aim labs, and I've even gotten better in Counter-Strike, even though I'm using aim labs. So there's a lot of different things that you have to trial for yourself to figure out what works for you. Now, some things may work for others, so just keep that in mind, but you guys really need to figure out what works for you and what helps you improve. Now, tip number 10 is a little cliche, but the tip is trust the process. You need to trust in your training, trust in everything that you're doing to constantly try to improve, because one day it will add up, because I truly believe that hard work does beat talent. And if you're here because you're trying to improve, or maybe you're hard stuck, I do believe in you. And make sure you guys comment down below any problems that even me or anyone else that comments on the video can see. They might be able to help you as well, because even if you're hard stuck or maybe not improving, there's always hope and there's always a way to do it, which is one reason why I made this video. So if you do need help improving, hopefully this video helped you, and comment down below if I did miss anything. But if you guys did enjoy this content, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.